Ruth was a Moabite. She was a young lady who knew the land of Moab, the people of Moab, and the God of Moab. Moab was probably the only world that Ruth knew. But that changed when an Israelite family, seeking to escape famine, sojourned in her homeland. She married one of the young Israelite men, and with that marriage, a new worldview began to invade her life. I think we can safely assume that as she began to know firsthand these people from Israel, she also began to hear stories of the land of Israel and the God of Israel. Moab was no longer the only world Ruth knew, and I believe a spark was ignited in Ruth's heart, and a longing began to burn deep within her. She was no longer content with the land of Moab, the people of Moab, and the God of Moab, because they were not satisfying the thirst of her soul for a true home, a true place to belong. I think we see evidence of this when her Israelite husband dies, and her widowed mother-in-law, left without any children, decides to travel back to Israel. Ruth joins her mother-in-law, Naomi, on this journey, despite Naomi's impassioned speech attempting to persuade Ruth to remain in Moab, in the land that she knew, among the people that she knew, worshiping the God that she knew. Ruth, though, was unaffected by Naomi's plea and proved that she was wholeheartedly committed to staying at Naomi's side. Ruth memorably declared, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." Ruth was not attached to Moab, though it was her earthly homeland. The land of Moab, the people of Moab, and the God of Moab had failed to satisfy Ruth. She longed for something better, something greater, something to quench the thirst of her soul. Ruth's story reminds me a lot of Abraham's story. As God had called Abraham to leave Ur of the Chaldeans and follow his lead to a new homeland, I believe God called Ruth to leave Moab. The means through which God called Ruth was different than with Abraham, though. It was more subtle, more of a whisper than a shout, but it was God calling nonetheless. Also, just as Abraham was willing to leave behind his earthly home in order to follow God into the unknown, so too was Ruth willing. Without hesitation, Ruth left Moab behind her. There was a magnet in Israel drawing her in, and she didn't resist its powerful pull. She couldn't find what her soul was longing for in the land of Moab, among the people of Moab, and in Chemosh, the God of Moab. Maybe she would find it in the land of Israel, among the people of Israel, and in Yahweh, the God of Israel. At the risk of ruining the ending of the story, I must tell you that Ruth did find a home in Israel. Boaz, who would become her new husband, once said to her, "May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Richly rewarded she was. In fact, Ruth's search for a home was rewarded in ways she could not possibly have imagined. This young Moabite woman searching for refuge in a home would become an ancestor of Jesus, God's Son, the one in whom humanity can find eternal refuge, the one in whom humanity can find home.